Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Bunny Operator here. Today we're going to go over the CMMG Radial Delayed Blowback system. This one specifically is the 9mm kit, the 8-inch model, and we're going to be going over a general comparison of this system versus the traditional 9mm heavy mass blowback AR-9. First things first, the traditional 9mm AR-9 systems that are out there are generally not true AR-15s, if you will. They are proprietary systems that are designed to resemble AR-15s, but not quite. A lot of the components are proprietary and vary between different manufacturers, as well as the action itself requires heavy mass or a lot of weight. At the carrier section, there's no actual bolt in a traditional AR-9. And as the round fires, in order for the system to become safe enough for the round to eject, it requires the heavy mass of the carrier in order to delay unlock time. And what that does is it holds the carrier against the chamber long enough for the pressures to dissipate, or at least to go down to safe levels before it travels back into your action, or at least into your recoil system. On the CMMG kit, it actually does use a star chamber, or a bolt and a star chamber. So this is an actual BCG versus the traditional carrier only of a traditional AR-9 system. And this is standard weight comparable to a traditional AR-15 BCG. I'll go ahead and roll in images of what an AR-9 carrier looks like, or at least examples of some of the carriers offered out there by some of the manufacturers. You'll notice that none of these have an actual bolt, like I noted on the CMMG, which does have a bolt. Also note that this specific CMMG kit uses a traditional AR-15 lower receiver, and it uses their proprietary magazines partnered with Mean Arms. It's slightly modified from their EndoMags. The EndoMags actually have your ejectors as part of your follower, and in my opinion, that's not a very good design, because without the magazine inserted into the mag well, it will not properly extract or remove spent casings, or in some cases live ammunition, depending on what you're doing. If you're clearing your chamber and the magazine's not in there, and you attempt to extract that round, well, it won't do it, and you have this sense of false security that your chamber is clear. Mr. Guns and Gear did do a review on the Mean Arms EndoMags specifically, and he goes over this, and I agree with him on that. From the folks that do have the Mean Arms EndoMags, I have found that to be the case, where it does not actually extract the round. On the CMMG kit, since it has a bolt on it, you can see that there's an extractor as well as the ejector as a part of the complete unit on the CMMG kit, while the AR-9 traditional carriers only have the extractor on there. For the CMMG system, it acts just like a traditional AR-15. It uses the star chamber in conjunction with the bolt in order to delay unlock time. In this case, once it fires, it delays the unlock time, and once the bolt fully opens, the carrier itself will travel backwards, and then comes back forward and relocks itself, just like a traditional AR-15 system. For the magazine, it is just a traditional PMag. This one, in this case, is a Gen 2 that they provide you from the factory. You can see the CMMG logo. It'll say CMMG ARC, or 9mm. The EndoMag modified followers, specifically for the CMMG kits, are included here. You can buy the kit separately, and they do also work with Gen 3 PMags. Just like an AR-15, you would just load the 9mm casings on top the same way. You just drop it in, just like a traditional AR-15. Here's a fully loaded one to kind of show you what that looks like. Now, CMMG does make other lower receivers out there specific to their radial delayed blowback system to take Glock magazines. They take Colt SMG magazines, as well as some of the other caliber variations they have, like the 5.7. I'm gonna go ahead and take apart this bolt carrier group to show you how much of it is basically an AR-15. For the most part, the only differences between the CMMG kit and an AR-15 is essentially the bolt carrier group, the barrel, and the inserts of the magazines, or in some of their proprietary lower cases, the lower itself. But for my particular version, those are the only three differences, are the guts of the magazine, the barrel, and the bolt carrier group. So this is effectively an AR-15 that shoots 9mm versus an AR-9 that only resembles an AR-15. All right, let's go ahead and start the teardown. Now, Bear in mind that I just got done with the range session, so it's going to be kind of dirty. This is my trusty cell phone tool here. I actually found this to be quite useful. Firing pin out. It's kind of dirty. Appears to be a standard firing pin for an AR-15. You notice that the CMMG bolt carrier group has a CMMG logo on there. And another difference is that the cam pin itself is rounded instead of squared off or rectangular like a traditional AR-15. Out that goes. There goes that rounded cam pin. And out the bolt it goes. You notice that the bolt, instead of having gas rings, it uses a spring instead. Well, because there's no gas coming back here. This is a blowback system. So naturally that's understandable. Let's go and clean this off a little bit. No difference in the carrier itself. There's no gas key or no true gas key. This, of course, this cutout is designed for the radius of the cam pin. Staking looks fine. And all this is designed so that it works inside of a traditional AR-15 upper receiver. Even the ejection port that I'm using is a traditional AR-15. Some people use the enlarged ones, but it's not necessary for the 9mm cartridge or 35 caliber. Once you start going up to 40 caliber and above, then you may want to consider the larger port upper receivers offered by the various companies that are out there. Moving on to the bolt itself. You see that? Traditional extractor. This is looks like a 4-coil extractor spring with an insert versus the O-ring or the donut. That's my preference. There's lots of gunk in here from the last range session. Don't mind that. See if this spins freely. And it does spin freely. Looks like a traditional ejector. Nice spring tension there. It is radiused. That's nice. Yep, it's just pretty dirty. But that's pretty much the inside of the bolt carrier group. And as you can see, it's pretty much an AR-15 bolt carrier group, less the minor few changes that I noted. Of course, the fact that it's not using gas, so there's not an actual true gas key. It is modified for the rounded cam pin. And of course, the bolt itself is different. It uses, of course, lack of gas rings. It uses a spring at the tail end. But it looks like the front end itself is pretty similar, less the fact that these lugs are modified to be used with the CMMG barrel extension itself, or the barrel. I'm going to go ahead and put this back together off camera, and then we'll continue the video. So that's essentially the general basics of the CMMG Radial Delayed Blowback system. I'll go ahead and roll in some range footage here for you to actually see the differences between the CMMG 9mm Radial Delayed Blowback system versus the traditional heavy mass AR-9 blowback system. What's up everyone, Bunny Operator here. We're out on the range today, and I wanted to show you the difference between the CMMG Radial Delayed Blowback and the AR-9's traditional blowback system. Now, I like to equate, or the analogy I like to give is that an AR-9 is a totally different system. It's basically meant to look like an AR-15, but it's not really an AR-15. While the CMMG kit itself is a AR-15 that specifically shoots 9mm. So more components here are closer to an AR-15 than on the AR-9 platforms. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'll show you the recoil impulse differences.
We're going to start off with the AR-9 traditional blowback. This one specifically takes Glock mags. I'm going to start with 5 rounds slow to show you a slow impulse, and I'll do a 10 round burst from that point on. We're going to go and get started. Here's 15 rounds total. Okay. And 5 rounds slow first. And now the rapid transition. See how I felt the rise coming on there as I was pumping rounds downrange itself. I felt the muzzle start to rise on it. And that's the nature of the heavier mass, or the bulk carrier group of an AR-9 coming back into your system. Now we're going to go and switch to the CMMG kit, and we'll show you the recoil impulse from there. Alright, so this is the CMMG Radial Delayed Blowback. It has a star chamber, and again, it's more of an AR-15 that just happens to shoot 9mm versus the AR-9 with its heavy mass blowback system. Okay, this particular system takes traditional AR mags, in this case a P-mag, with the internals changed to take 9mm rounds. So we'll go and get started. It's going to be 5 rounds slow and then 10 rounds from there. And now the 10 round rapid succession. See how it's much flatter in shooting, and I didn't quite get the rise as I did with the traditional blowback. That's the very nature of this style system, and in my opinion, it is much better and far superior than the traditional AR-9 blowback system. So stay tuned for the rest of the episode, and we'll see you back at the Bunny Operator Cave. We'll see you then.
So there's the range footage. Let me know what you think of in the comments. Did you notice a difference between the recoil impulses of the CMMG Radial Delayed Blowback system versus the traditional AR-9 heavy mass blowback system? Now, I want to note that I did not bear down on either. I just held the rifle like I normally would and essentially allowed the recoil to push me back in order to illustrate the differences between the two. Now, of course, naturally, if I'm shooting seriously, then I would be bearing down much harder to reduce the amount of movement backwards. But again, the purpose was to illustrate the amount of movement and compare the two. So that's pretty much it. As you can see, this is traditional AR-15 upper. I'm using a Radian charging handle. We're going to put the BCG back into the upper receiver, and it fits in just like any other traditional AR-15. Granted, the spring is forcing the BCG to come back a little bit, and of course we'll close that when we made the two receivers together. For this particular setup, I am using an Aero Precision M4E1 enhanced upper. These are the Griffin M2 rear sights and Griffin M2 front sights. Here's a SureFire Mini Scout. This is the older model, so it's probably like 300 lumens. Arasaka offset mount. These are Slate Black Industries rail panels and Slate stop. Centurion arms. It looks like a 9-inch. They're 9.5-inch handguards here. Call Valley Precision 9mm linear comp. This SureFire switch. ScalaWorks 1.93 mount and a Holosun 403. I want to say it is. Yeah, it works fine for 9mm. I'm probably going to try the primary arms 9mm red dot that's coming out just to see how that works out. I want to test out the BDCs and all that fun stuff, see how far I can push out the 9mm. For the lower receiver, it is just a traditional AR-15. Well, not quite traditional. It is the Aero Precision M4E1 enhanced lower. As you can see, there's a Geisselle SSA trigger in here, Radian Talon safeties. I am using a law folder. A real law folder. You know, don't be fooled by those knockoffs out there. There are some clones, but frankly, they're pretty garbage and quite crappy. I want to note that CMG does recommend a traditional carbine weight. You can certainly adjust that to your liking, but I already have a law folder, which already lengthens the length of travel for the BCG to come back and forward. So it already kind of acts sort of like an H1 as far as travel goes. Let's see here. PWS buffer tube, their ratcheting Castlenut Endplate system. I'm using these for now only because this is a traditional carbine buffer. All my other AR-15s use the Veltor A5 system, specifically the RE A5 buffer tube, as well as the A5H2 buffer weight. Of course, SBA3 from SB Tactical, and there he goes. This is my little AR9. You know, let me know what your thoughts are on the two systems, or if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And for the video, to anyone who you think might be interested in the information. I am a small channel, frankly a peasant in this world of YouTube influencers, if you will. My intent is not to get rich. I don't need the money. It's got nothing to do with it, but is to pass on objective information so that all of you can spend your hard-earned money wisely. Please go ahead and once again, like, comment, subscribe, follow my Instagram, go to my Facebook. Instagram, I'm actively posting more there daily, but you know, do what you will. It's a free country, but I certainly do appreciate all my followers and the communications that I have with you. So that's it for the CMMG video. I'm thankful for all of you that follow me. I look forward to your feedback on future videos and content. Bunny Operator signing out.